𝗧𝗍 is an IT professional who faces a dilemma when a colleague expects her to cover up for his remote work, which is against company policy. Work in the office is piling up, and 𝗧𝗍 feels uneasy lying by omission in online meetings. 𝗧𝗍 knows what she thinks is right, but how can she get it done? What should 𝗧𝗍 say and to whom? What information does she need to gather? How should she frame her position to appeal to her audience? What objections and pushbacks can she anticipate? And how might she react to them persuasively?
Welcome to Giving Voice to Value Africa. Raise your hand if you ever felt the need to speak up but were afraid of what it meant to do so. Creating awareness of ethics without addressing how to speak up or act is inspirational but not enabling. Many values conflicts in the workplace are predictable, yet people don't feel empowered to act, they rationalize not speaking up, or simply are unsure of what to do in order to be effective.
The GVV Africa course brings together the Giving Voice to Values framework with real examples of values conflicts and creative and effective solutions shared by leaders, managers, and young professionals in Africa. The course is highly engaging and includes opportunities to reflect, connect and share with others, receive feedback, and participate in synchronous case facilitation sessions that help you build your moral muscle memory using scripting and role play. So far, GVV Africa has helped over 300 learners from 20 countries across the continent gain the competence and confidence to make that choice. Champion values-based leadership. GVV Africa.
Good afternoon, good morning, good day from wherever you are connecting with us from. You're welcome to today's speaker session hosted by the Education Collaborative. As you join, I'll kindly ask that you type in the chat where you are joining us from, your name, your institution, your country.
Votre pays. Go ahead, Ajot. No worry.
So we can know where you are tuning in with us or tuning in from. So I want to see some text in the chat, please. That would be great. Okay, I see Dr. Olive Sabiti joining us from Cavendish University. Greetings, Dr. Sabiti. I see Memsi Elifile from Biaka University in Cameroon. Gugu from University of the Free State. That's great. Olutayo Oshunson from Cavendish University. Thank you all. I see so many representations from all over the continent, right? Cavendish University, GIMPA, Kepler College, you are all very welcome. My name is Acquaah Oforijewu, and thank you all for joining us for today's session. Today's session is around student services, and we are going to hear from seasoned student affairs professionals, and we would hear and learn some important insights that are useful for the student services across universities in Africa. And we know that higher education, they're really experiencing a lot of growth in enrollment, diversity, and increased expectation for student success outcomes. And we've seen a lot of work go into academic quality and curriculum reform. But we find that student services across institutions are sometimes either underdeveloped, fragmented, or even under-resourced. So we think that this session will be a good way to, begin the conversation and let us all know what are the different strategies and ways we can work to improve the overall student experience in a higher education institutions in Africa. So I would like to introduce our speaker, our moderator for today, and then she would now take us through the session. So I'd like to hand it over to Ms. Selina Torrison Saaka, who is from the University of Ghana. She would introduce herself. We would also hear from our other speakers, and then we would go into the session. I kindly ask that if you are a French speaker, on the bottom ribbon of the Zoom, there's a sign that looks like a globe. So once you click on it, you are able to hear the French translation, but however, you would have to mute original audio. You would have to mute original audio. So once you click on that interpretation button, you mute original audio, and then you'll be able to hear the language, the translation in French. And we would also have breakout rooms during this session, and we also would have the interpretation in this main room. So once we get to the breakout rooms, I kindly ask that if you are a French speaker, you stay in this main room because our translation will happen in this main room. So I'll hand it over to Ms. Selina Torrison Saaka, who will now take us through the session for today. Ms. Selina, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Acquaah, and welcome everyone who has joined today's session. My name is Selina Torrison Saaka, as Acquaah has already intimated. I work in the University of Ghana, and I head the Students' Financial Aid Office. Today, I'm going to be facilitating a session on this community of practice on student support systems. I would like my co-facilitators to introduce themselves at this point.
Well, thank you, Selina. My name is Mwebi Osezua. I'm the head of student affairs at Pan-Atlantic University. And Pan-Atlantic University is in Lagos, Nigeria. And our university has a key focus, of course, on academic excellence, but we also put a strong emphasis on the dignity of the human person. So at our university, the student is at the center of our education. And thereby, in student affairs, I'm very passionate about advancing student services and support services that can help the students to excel, and at the same time, still maintaining the dignity of them as a human person. So really, in general, that is who I am, and that is our institution, Pan-Atlantic University. Maybe I'll hand it over to Jude.
Thank you, Anne. My name is Jude Acquaah. I work with Ashesi University in Ghana. I'm in the student and community affairs area. My specific department is student life and engagement. And Ashesi is in Ghana. I'm happy to be here, especially to be working again with Selina and Anne. I've worked with them on a couple of other projects, and it's always exciting to do this together.
So thank you, Jude and Anne, for your introductions. At this point, I'd like us to get into the framing of what student support systems are and how they shape student experiences. And I'd like to share a slide that would walk us through this. Are you able to see the slides?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
In slide mode. All right.
Yes, please.
So today's session focuses on 3 critical aspects of the student's life cycle in the university. And we'll be looking at admissions, persistence, and retention, and how student support services enable or disable these processes. So the student journey has 3 critical phases, as already said. And every university and department plays a critical role in this journey, in the students' life cycle on campus. And to take this conversation further, we'll be looking at these distinctive roles and how they aid or enable success, and how they are able to influence personal growth, and how they help shape the professional trajectory of every student. So for admissions, and I'm going to be speaking to you about some of the experiences here in the University of Ghana. For admissions, we typically have like the admission process looking at entry and then settling in of the students in the university. We try to look out for diversity, and we have several policies in place that enable us to do this. We have the policy for the less endowed schools, which kind of aids students who are not able to compete at the level of some of the very high class schools in Ghana. But we kind of like make provision for them so that they're able to get into some programs they would want to get into. But apart from that, one of the areas of strength for the University of Ghana in the admission cycle is particularly with people with disability. And this process is so rigorous that from the word go, we cater to the needs of every kind of disability in the space. And so at the point where the student fills the admission form, one of the key questions would be, do you have a disability? When the student, or in instances where the student states that they have a disability, we pull out the data, and then we reach out to each student to kind of understand and even assess what the disability is and the extent of disability. Now, this is done very intentionally so that we are able to provide the requisite support structures and systems they need on their journey here. Maybe later on when we get into the breakout rooms, I'll be able to, when we, in the admission room, we'll be able to talk about some of the support systems intentionally put in place for persons with disability. And we could hear from other institutions on what they do so we can learn from each other. Now, beyond this, we have the phase that focuses on persistence. What does persistence entail? The student is able to come into the institution, they are admitted, but what are some of those factors that influence or that affect the student's stay in school so that the student is able to stay on? You know, would like to have conversations around this. Some of the key factors would be academic advising, financial aid, career services, mental health support, and then other student affairs clubs. Would like to hear from different institutions what their experiences with this particular phase is and what's going on in their space. The goal for this session is to create an environment where, or to help us understand what exists in your communities so that we can learn from each other on how we can better create environments where students don't just exist but thrive. Then we go to retention. After persistence, what next? A student stays and then they complete successfully. But what are the key components of this phase? How do we enable, what are the enablers of student retention? We'll be looking at career services, alumni engagement and mentorship, academic supports, student affairs, what are the different kinds of programs and structures and systems in place, and how do they work together, not in seclusion, how do they work and complement each other in ensuring that the student is able to persist, thrive, and complete successfully. And how do we ensure that the student is prepared for the workspace? So these would be the three main areas we'll be looking at today. We'll be breaking out into different groups, three main groups: admission, persistence, and retention. And participants are at will to choose whichever group they prefer.
Thank you.
I'd like to find out if my translator is comfortable with the pace, or if we are going just a little bit too fast. Is Mr. Harvey on the line?
Ajay, you're on mute.
Hi, Miss Selina. Yes, your pace is good, please. Thank you.
Right.
Yes. All right, so we should have the breakout rooms pop up on your screen just about now. So kindly.
So before we break out, I'd like to ask that once we break out, each group needs to find a volunteer who makes notes to share at the end of the session with other participants from other breakout groups. So can you nominate one volunteer each?
Okay.
All right, so on your screen, you should see the two available rooms are persistence and retention. The main room here would be the admissions room for our Francophone speakers so that they are able to be a part of the conversation as well. So let's kindly select the rooms that we would like to go into. This is to accommodate our Francophone speakers as well. Okay. Thank you. I see a few people joining. That's good. If we could kindly join in a timely fashion, that would be great. So our leader for the persistence room is Miss Anne, and then our leader for the retention room is Mr. Jude. So you're welcome to select the phase that you would like to be in, the room that you would like to be in. But I assume that if you did not leave this room, it means you are okay with being in the Francophone room. All right, so I'll give us just about 2 more minutes, and then we can just go ahead and assign people to the various rooms. Dr. Pamela, it's not popped up on your screen. Okay, please allow me to just assign you a room, if that will be easier for you, please. Thank you. Okay. Miss Mary Nabatanzi. All right, let me also assign you to. Yes, you might have to click on select breakout rooms at the bottom of the window for the breakout rooms to pop up on your screen, please, for our participants. All right, Miss Selina. You can please get started in the admissions room.
Okay, so thank you everyone who chose to be in admissions. Before we begin, we need a volunteer who would help us take a few notes on some of the practices in different institutions. So can we have any volunteer? You can just simply unmute and then tell us if you want to volunteer.
I see Fanuel, I see Comfort. Miss Madam Comfort Mensah, would you like to be our assigned secretary for the
Rapporteur.
room? So that once we go back into the main room, we are able to share our takeaways with the main room, please. That would be great.
Okay, so we are running out of time.
Yes.
Can someone just volunteer?
I see Deborah Baba Kwanzaa is unmuted. Are you speaking, please, or would you like to be our assigned person to share in the main room, please? All right, Ms. Selina, please, you can get started. I think,
Okay.
yes, for the sake of time.
Okay, so we are going to be discussing admissions. And first of all, we want to look at what student needs are when they come into school. What are the needs of students coming into higher education? Then we look at what structures are in place in the university to support these needs. And then finally, we are going to be looking at what challenges do the structures and systems pose to students. Then we also look at what innovations. Would like to hear from your various institutions, what some of the innovations you are coming up with in the midst of the challenges you faced in the past. So would like to set this ball rolling and would like to hear from you what some of the challenges students, first of all, what are some of the needs of students from higher education institutions coming in as freshmen? So you could unmute at any point and then speak. Hello.
So, hello, Selina.
Yes,
This
please.
is Stella, Central University.
Yes, please.
Okay, so we have issues of even the program choice.
Yes.
A lot of students choose programs based on various reasons. Sometimes their parents, sometimes somebody recommended. So they come in, and sometimes after 1 year, the number of students who change programs after 1 year, some even after 2 years, before they realize that they are in the wrong program or they've lost interest. Someone will tell you I've lost interest. Someone will tell you architecture is too difficult. I didn't know it to be like this. Or law is this. Or they even say the school fees, because of the fees, I want to switch from one program to a cheaper program and all of that. So that has been a challenge. The rates of students who change programs after first or second year was quite high. But when we started our counseling services, that has helped a lot. We have opened up to them to be able to come for counseling. During the first week of orientation, we introduced the services at the counseling center to them. And a number of them come in just after the orientation to interact. They take the personality tests And that this is able to help them to know who they are, and then the sort of careers, the type of careers that they can opt for. So that has been very helpful. The other thing that you recently introduced this academic year was what we call the eligibility checker. It's an AI tool that IT department developed. So that's one, even before you start the admission process itself, when you key in your results, your WASSCE results, it's able to tell you what you can do, the program options that are available to you. So you will not even go outside what is available to you as far as your results are concerned. So this also helps with the admission process. But I think the key thing for us is the fact that counseling is available. We take them through the personality tests. And so that's able to cut down on those who start and then later on after a year or two before they decide they have to change.
Okay, thank you, Stella. Thank you so much for sharing elaborately on this.
You're welcome.
I'd like someone to probably share from their experience how they include diversity in determining the needs of, or what considerations they give to diversity when determining the needs of students. So do we have anybody who could share experiences from their institution?
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Anthony Odek from St. Paul's University in Kenya, Nairobi. Yes, from the experience of St. Paul's is that this is being a Christian university, but we also have Muslim students and we have people from different denominations.
Yeah.
So when students come, we tell them what the university is about. But I know there are challenges also in that we also have students who have just joined as private university section, but recently the government also gave us students that we are calling students from the regular university or from the public university. So we had that kind of diversity in terms of religion, in terms of those who are sponsoring themselves, those who are being sponsored by the government, who do not adhere to the rules of the Christian university, and so, you know, the Christian university sometimes even being expectant sometimes is rare. But now this is a student who didn't choose to come to this university. They were just placed by the government to join the university, and there was that debate. And so our dean of students had to be instructed at one point that you need to go slow on some of these cases because, first of all, they didn't choose this university. They were placed by the government. And some of these people are also married, so you can't just imagine that this was just a reckless person. But again, even whatever the case, this is a situation where a student should be helped. So we had a bit of a debate about that, but at the end of the day, the deputy vice chancellor then would prevail and would ask that the student be supported. It's never easy. It's never easy, given that a university also has its own tradition, its own culture. Some people choose to come despite the said culture, like the Islamic students in our university. They know that this is a Christian university, but they still come, join, learn, and also graduate. So I think it's more of intercultural relations, how we focus on what is uniting us and showing them the values that they can also learn and live with us. And sometimes we even admire them. Yeah, we focus on what is uniting us rather than what is dividing us. And
that's a very interesting point. Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for sharing on this. Could we have one last person share on what some of the needs, what student needs are at the admission phase from their institution. Maybe before this person comes, I'd like to say that housing is one of the greatest needs over here in the University of Ghana. So the admission process is decoupled from the provision of university housing. And it's one of those, housing poses great challenges for most fresh students. However, in the past 3 years, the university has instituted a policy to ensure that freshmen are given priority in housing on campus. So we have the in, out policy. So this means that you are very likely to get accommodation eventually as a freshman student. But I'd also like to hear from other institutions or from other participants what other needs they identify at this stage outside what we have spoken about already. Please, anyone wants to take a turn?
Well, if as they think about it, I partly studied at University of Botswana, and at that time I was in charge of research in the library. And so the University of Botswana used to give undergraduates, when they come day 1, day 2, they're given a small questionnaire to fill, where the university would know certain needs, the library would know certain needs, the classes would know, like for example, what is your level of knowledge on IT? And then the following week, those gaps would be addressed. That was a very rare situation, but I realized that it was very useful. Yeah, so some people would administer some tools, questionnaire, to just know about cultural issues, level of understanding of computer, access to some of the university services. Then immediately a solution is put in place. Yeah, so that's what my experience then. Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that you had some kind of needs assessment of every student coming in.
Absolutely,
To
yes.
try to understand what their needs are with respect to technology and even content.
Yes, then the training would be organized based on those needs. Yes.
Right. Okay. So
Selina, can I also add a little bit?
Yes,
That,
sure.
okay, so at Central University Ghana, what we also do is we do a mental health screening.
Okay.
Yes, and we use what we call the DAS, depression, anxiety, and stress scale. It's a questionnaire. So we have incorporated this into their medical exams. So when they go for the medical exams, they also scan a QR code and answer this questionnaire. Then the results come to the counseling center directly. So students, and there are different degrees of stress, anxiety, and depression. So the very severe cases, we invite the students for counseling and to help them to be able to settle in. The transition from home to school can contribute to that to some extent, because some have never moved away from home, so they may be a little bit more anxious. So when we invite them, we are able to help them to be able to settle into the university community. So this screening actually helps us with their mental health to
so
see
this happens at the very onset.
Yes, at the very onset, the very first week when they come and we are doing the orientation, then the medical exam is going on at the same time.
Okay.
So they go to our clinic for the medical exam, and whilst they go there, they also do the mental health screening. So
Okay.
it's all incorporated.
So I'd like us to move on to the, thank you so much, Stella. I'd like us to move on to the next question and would like to kind of see what structures and support systems exist in the university to help students settle in. And I think that your last intervention kind of speaks to that. What support systems, what structures exist to help students transition on admission? So can we have some can we have some experiences from other institutions? All right, so while we wait for someone to make, while we wait for...
Can I speak something?
Yes, please, thank you.
Yeah, this is Christopher Gima from Uganda, Clark International University.
Okay.
I lecture School of Business and Applied Technology, that is economics. That's my area of specialization. The structures that have been put in place is like I would call it open door management, where we allow students to give feedback, and the students give feedback on how the learning is taking place. They are included in the governance of that learning process, so they are able to appreciate and advise. I personally, when I'm teaching the first class meeting after orientation, I teach, then I give them, I have a few questionnaires organized online, and I give them freedom to give feedback on how the lesson has gone, on how they expect us to improve the lesson, the challenges, and their expectations. Because at the beginning, before I start, I would ask them any course outline I'm teaching the course. I would first ask them what are the expectations in the program. Right. So they will be able to give that expectation, and through giving the expectation, I synchronize it with what I have, and I'm able now to feed to their expectation at the end of the day. But nevertheless, there's a tool of feedback that is done as appraisal by management, by immediate supervisor to get the feedback, but also around the campus to allow learners to give the feedback freely, and they are engaged in decision making. So I personally, what I do after teaching every class, I spare some few minutes, which I give them, and this is how was the learning today. So the learning environment, they will give you feedback, both physical and even soft feedback. So you'll be able to improve. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Christopher. Thank you so much. We would like to take some more feedback or some more we would like to hear some more from other institutions. Could you help us understand what structures you have in place to meet the needs of students or to help them settle in, at the admission stage? And let's try to focus on admissions, the admissions process. So here in the University of Ghana, we would typically have an orientation session. In the past, an orientation session would collide with lectures and all of that. But I realized for this particular academic year, orientation sessions, students came 1 week before lectures began. And that entire week was totally dedicated to orientation. And we had every key stakeholder in the ecosystem do a presentation, some of it online, but also in person to students, so they are able to onboard successfully. And I think orientation is one of those key systems and structures put in place to help students with settle in or transition into higher education when admitted. Can we hear from other institutions what practices they have in place to help students settle in?
I think we, at Central University, we have a similar approach. We also have the first week of orientation when they are, there's a whole program where we have different departments introducing the students first to the academic system, how to access their own platforms, their school fees. There's a whole portal. So there are several introductions. We have the IT directorate introducing them to the students portal and the software that they use to they apply. We have the general administration coming to talk about security on campus and all of that. Then, of course, you have the Counseling and Career Services Directorate also presenting to them the services that are available in terms of their career development and emotional needs counseling issues. So all these are available. But what's the one interesting thing that has happened recently or this academic year? We just completed our orientation last week. So they're in their second week. One of the things that's happened, which they found, is most of the when you listen to the freshmen, their feedback was that they didn't even expect anything like that. Where there was a video, the Vice Chancellor himself, there was a welcoming video, a very warm welcoming video from the Vice Chancellor himself to all freshmen. This really was a game changer. It was so fascinating that the students were so excited that the Vice Chancellor himself had time to welcome them to campus life and to give them some tidbits how they can settle down and how they should be able to focus on their studies without distraction. So this was a very good initiative for us at Central.
Yes, the chair.
Thank you so much. So we'll look at this as an innovation, right?
Yes, it should be.
As an innovation into the space.
We have just about 5 minutes.
So is there anyone else on the floor?
Yeah, I wanted to say my observation of the current orientation is that it's not as explosive as our time when you were learning, when we would see the Vice Chancellor, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, the academics, they would come together and we were so excited. Nowadays, even students do not even turn up for orientation. So we have to do it several times, like at St. Paul's, for example. And once you've missed orientation, most students get confused throughout because they don't know where the basic services are, library services, issues of care, mental health, and all that. So I've been asking myself, why do students belittle or do not take seriously orientation? Or they're assuming that when you come to a new place, you just know, or you'll be asking people, why is this? And then you'll get it. So that is the beginning of a much bigger problem for many students in the university. It's something that maybe something has got to be done, especially from what I'm seeing, we are not doing well in that, yes.
Yes. So much earlier on, Stella, you talked about how students sometimes have issues with their programs of choice. And I'd like to share an innovation the University of Ghana is implementing these days. And it's got to do with self-placement. So after the first stage of admissions, when we find that students have qualified but haven't found their programs of choice, we open it up and then we allow the students to self-place themselves, to place themselves in programs that they are interested in. Of course, this would not typically be the medicines, the pharmacies, the nursing and all, but beyond first choice courses, what other programs do students want? We allow them in cases where they are not able to get into their program of choice, in spite of the fact that they've made very good grades, we allow them to do self-placement. So that's one of the innovations I've seen in this space lately. And this speaks to the need of what structures are in place to help students in their various, as they settle in.
We have just about under a minute for the breakouts to close.
And we haven't looked at the challenges. So very quickly, can we identify some of the challenges very quickly?
I think
just in one bullet sessions.
I think students' population is maybe a challenge for population. This is just my thoughts. I think that especially when it comes to counseling services, so advising, right? What is the advisor to students ratio like? Do we have about 200 students to one advisor? Or do we have maybe a much smaller ratio? I think that's also a challenge that larger institutions might face in that process.
Okay, any more challenges? How do we help persons with disabilities settle in? Do we have the facilities?
We are back in the main room, Miss Selina.
Okay.
We are back.
So welcome everybody. Welcome back to the plenary session. Would like to hear from the various groups what discussions took place. Like to hear from persistence, would like to hear from retention, and then admissions. So from Anne, are you ready? Do you have a volunteer to share with us?
Yes, we had a volunteer, and I believe he is ready. Tobias, we were in the persistence room. Persistence room. So Tobias, see, our volunteer is very ready. Okay, Tobias Omondi. Please.
Yes, thank you very much. I hope everyone can hear me.
We can hear you. It would be good if you could increase your volume just a bit, if possible.
All right, so thank you everyone. So I was in group 2. We were focusing on the persistence phase. And basically this phase is where students have already gone through the admission process and have secured the necessary funding. So they are ready to go to, to live their life now in school. And we were discussing about what are some of the services that we can use in different universities or institutions so that their life can be smooth and they can be able to thrive. So one of the things that we talk about was guidance and counseling units, which some people, they introduce these services from the onset immediately when they
Hello, can I chip in something, please? Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Diele Aigbe from Caleb University. Hello.
Hello. So yes, please.
I want to thank, sorry, we're having issues on network. I'm just joining now. And I want to applaud your innovation. And I was just sharing this part of perspective.
Okay. Can we come back to this? I mean, would have a short session for contribution. So if you don't mind, would you let us take that when we get to that session? Hello?
Yes, Miss Selina, I think we lost him. So Tobias, you can kindly proceed. I think he might have fallen off again.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So
sorry about the interruption, Tobias.
Tobias, could you kindly speak out? I can hardly hear you.
All right, I hope you can hear me clearly now. Yeah, so I was saying, one of the services is guidance and counseling, where in different institutions is introduced at the onset, where students join in and are immediately introduced so that they can break the stigma about mental health at a very early stage. And this was very common in the different institutions where people shared what some of the services that they usually do. So they also talked about peer-to-peer support, where other students are able to support other students in different areas of life so that they can be able to thrive in school as well. And they also mentioned about extracurricular activities. So these are things like sports and other activities that are non-class related. Others shared that there's also counseling for both students and staff. So it's not only for the students, also the staff are involved in the counseling services. We also talked about self-care sessions where we encourage holistic care of the students. So it's not only your mental health, you also focus on your physical health and as well as your academics. Someone also mentioned about Success Week, which they have in the institution, where they talk about different topics, and it's like a whole week session. So a whole week is dedicated to talk about different topics, so like mental health, relationships, and stuff like that. Also talked about professional development sessions, especially for the staff, so that they can also improve as they try to assist students in their life during their time in the university. Also talk briefly about advisors. Some schools they assign advisors to students when they join the institution, and I think this was a very good one. Another one, they talked about mental health sessions. They have it twice in a week, so both online and physical. Also talked about medical emergency support, 24 hours nurse in the institutions. And someone also shared about academic, psychological, and financial support are coordinated by student affairs divisions. Yeah, and as I finalize, someone also talked about involving the alumni in trying to mentor the students. So this is just what you talked about. Thank you.
Sorry, I missed your final one.
Yeah, involving alumni.
Alumni, okay.
Alumni, yeah, in terms of mentoring the students also. So they come back and give back to the students.
Right.
Yes.
So thank you, retention. Would like to now move on to persistence.
That was persistence.
Oh, that was persistence. Okay.
Yes.
Would like to move now on to retention. Retention would give you 2 minutes to share your insights.
Okay.
With us.
Okay, Selina. Thank you so much. Google will be reporting for us.
Okay.
So Google, kindly go ahead.
Sure. Thank you so much, Selina. So we focused on 3 buckets that are linked to retention. The first one is student needs. And when it comes to student needs, we highlighted the following. We highlighted that students need quality teaching and learning and an environment. The way in which we teach, students need us to be content facilitators and not passive teachers. Conducive living and learning environments, which includes our libraries, our housing services that we render to the students. Students require interactive and available leadership, and someone pointed out in our group that this can foster collaboration from a top-down approach. Students need timeous and responsive communication, learning that empowers and promotes problem-solving, critical thinking, which are future attributes, future-fit attributes. We highlighted that students need academic advising support, career advising, career counseling services. Students need financial security, and like the other colleagues have mentioned, students need mentorship and tutorial peer support. In terms of the second bucket that we discussed around structures that support the needs of these students that exist in our different institutions. There we highlighted responsive student affairs departments that facilitate co-curricular and extracurricular activities. 24/7 support for health, wellness, and counseling. One thing we highlighted is data units that can help us get the student voice and student satisfaction. Readily available communication and information to students, learning that empowers and promotes problem solving. We also mentioned career service units, student governance structures that help students at a peer level to engage. And then we said academic staff training and development efforts that can help the students. In our last bucket, we said what challenges do these units or structures face in being responsive to the student needs. We said in some institutions, it's independence or autonomy of the structures to carry out their mandate. We highlighted staff turnaround, and this is in some instances a lack of a business continuity plan for services to continue. We indicated limited finances that are allocated to certain structures that support students. Collaboration, but also institutional coordination to drive the collaboration, because the lack of the coordination results in silos and unresponsive support. And then we also mentioned just support unit awareness, both to academic staff and the students, creating that greater awareness, because some academic staff, as a colleague mentioned, is not aware of a support unit that can address student needs, that then creates a bottleneck or the student going unsupported. And then the last thing we mentioned was just sustainable and consistent support provision for our students. And that's what we discussed under student retention. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, student retention, for the insights. Stella, would you be able to share a few insights from the admissions session?
Okay, so yes, I joined a little late because my network was misbehaving. But the point at which I joined, there was this issue of housing. With University of Ghana, for example, the issue about housing where students, we have the in, out. The policy is that because of the housing challenges, freshmen, the first years at least, should be on campus. So they have housing on campus. And then the possibility of them having housing beyond that is also there, but there's a policy that all freshmen should at least be on campus. So that was the issue. Then the idea about challenges students face with selection of their programs. And we indicated that there are some students are influenced by parents, all kinds of decisions that lead them into the programs that they select. So when they come to campus, during the orientation, the first week of orientation, we introduce them to the Counseling and Career Services Directorate, that they could, if they are not too sure of their programs, they could visit the directorates and go through what we call personality tests for them to know themselves. Sometimes, in some cases, even parents are invited, where it is realized that a student is in a program that may not be so suitable or was influenced to select a particular program. Parents are even invited into those counseling sessions. We also shared, I think, about the issue about disability, inclusiveness, that some universities have provisions for those who are challenged, whether physically or some other challenges. And the University of Ghana in Legon, for example, has a very comprehensive provision system where from the onset you indicate if you have any kind of disability, they will engage you and make sure that you are catered for. What else do I remember? Even though I was not asked to record, so
Yes,
I joined,
yes.
but I recall some of these discussions. And
so I think one of the things we didn't talk about, but which is actually really very real, particularly with the challenges, is student financing. For many students, the admission is really like the admission comes with a lot of financial burdens, especially for people from very resource disadvantaged backgrounds. And so once admissions kick in, you find people trooping into the students' financial aid spaces looking for financing. However, our admission processes are not our aid is not given along with admission. So you really need to get into the system before you can access financial aid. And sometimes I wonder how many people just fall off because they are not able to cough up that initial amount. I think we also looked at what structures are in place to help students transition and settle in. And then we heard from Central University and others on the orientation sessions they organize. Central University shared on an innovation they have begun to implement. They have the Vice Chancellor welcome freshmen with a video like addressing some of their needs and guiding them on what they need to do to settle in seamlessly. And then feedback from what they, from this past admission session shows that freshmen really appreciated that. We also talked about how the IT Directorate trains freshmen to help them settle in on some of the technological tools they use with their programs. And so, I mean, and this happens here also in the University of Ghana. We talked about some of the challenges, which is the huge population of students admitted at a go. And one of the challenges that also I notice here is that in spite of the fact that all these orientation sessions are held, there's usually also some deficit in information in the system. So you have students who are just not cued in on what is going on. So here are some of the challenges we identified in the admission process. Does anyone from the group have anything else to add? Or do we have any questions and contributions from the wider group on any of these? Good morning.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's about 3:04 here in Nigeria here.
Okay.
So my name is Dr. 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗲 from Caleb University, Department of Criminology and Security Studies. I'm a global security consultant. And it was a bit challenging to come into this space. And, you know, we're in Africa, the power, in spite that we're on campus, the network and the epileptic power supply, there was this breach. And he said, I really miss this. So I had to start speaking in tongues. He said, God, intervention. You know, this is Africa, we pray a lot here. So, and a miracle happened and the light power came up and everything. And that's why I'm an opportunity to be here. But I missed that. Now, just trying to share that with my students. And I want to share, I would like to share the narrative to them and about beyond classrooms. And that's been my pedagogy or practicals and theory, application of practicals. I had that when I was doing my master's in University of Ibadan. And Africa Premier University and or Nigeria Premier University.
So, Dr. 𝗶𝗺𝗃, can you tell us in like 1 minute or 2 minutes, let's say 2 minutes, what you want to share?
Yes, I like that the caption. It really caught my fancy, beyond the classroom. And I think my students I really want to share that with them, that you're not just comfortable in the classroom. Let's go to practical field experience, to know, like one of my courses are prison and correction, so that under the criminal justice system in Nigeria, that the process which they go through from the arrest to pre-trial and post-trial and being convicted of under penology, you know. So we're not having that classroom. Our students are so comfortable just sitting in the class, comfort of the classroom. Let's go beyond that. So I want to thank the facilitator of this. I appreciate you. Thank you for this. And one of them says sustainability. If we can be able to sustain this, it will go a long way to help our students to not just sit on the classroom and just get fine grades. Let's have a first-hand experience what the real world is. So when I go to the labor market, they're able to compete favorably. And thank you for this, and I appreciate what you are doing, and God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. 𝗶𝗺𝗃. Deborah, do you want to share something?
Yes, thank you very much. Please, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. What we are also doing differently, I'm at Palm University
Okay.
College, Asha Hills in Ghana. What we do differently is a bridge program for the freshmen. When they are being oriented after the orientation, there's a bridge program for them. It is 2 weeks, yes, and they go through English, math, and IT, those courses that the student find it difficult. It helps them before the main lecture starts. So that's what we do differently at Palm. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
I just can also just add a little bit that this year I'm just following up on what the other professor said about relating to the theme for the discussion. That is not just beyond classroom. So what we are doing this year is that from the word go during the orientation, we are already introducing the students to begin to think of their careers. So from the word go, we are introducing the career services. We are introducing the personality test for them to be sure that they are preparing themselves for the world of work. We talked about internship placements and all of that. But even at the word on the onset, we want them to begin to think career and employability. So we started introducing bits and pieces of that to them at the fresher stage, at the stage of admission.
Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, for contributing to this discussion. And at this point, like to hand over to Anne, who will take us through a synthesis of all that we have discussed.
Thank you, Selina, and thank you, everyone, for sharing and for your contributions. And during this community of practice, the essence is that we need to come to share to see what we can, what we are doing well in our institutions and continue and improve on them, and then to pick what we think we can learn from other institutions and maybe try and introduce them in our own, from our own areas, in our capacity, and then maybe even raise them up institutional level. But also, the other key aspect also to learn really what we may not be doing right, what may be outdated, what may not be in line with supporting students, so that we can change and improve, because that is what education is dynamic. So just to synthesize, from what we have learned, guided by the paper or by Dr. Jonathan Bennett on the 3 phases of student life. So from all these discussions, we can really say that, admission is not really at the point where the student enters the school, but it could be a pre-entry and then transition into the university. So some institutions, which include Pan-Atlantic University, we have schemes that even help secondary school students to be better prepared towards university, because we'll find that our institutions may be better prepared to support students, but it also helps the institution to have students who are also ready for what our institutions have to offer. So at Pan-Atlantic University, for instance, we have community service project where members of the university, students and staff, give tutorials to students from neighboring universities, particularly those who are coming from public universities that may not have the level of education or the level of teaching that will get them entry into PAU. So our students, our staff, open our university to these students to come in for these tutorials so that they can pass the exam to bring them into university. So if we can think in our own institutions, what are we really doing from the ground stage so that when the students come to our universities, they are better prepared? So that is the pre-entry transition stage. Of course, programs like the bridging program is key. And we would like to know if that is mandatory for all students or those who need are given the opportunity to key into that. Of course, we've also heard that in this admission stage, it is really important to support students through a very good orientation and expectation setting from the outset, and then to also give them the necessary financial support that they can have so that they don't have to to be so burdened with finances that they may not focus on their studies. So that is really important. And then policies that are put in place that support freshman students, especially this housing on campus. We realize that many new students may not end up getting accommodation, but if we put policies that at least secure some spaces for them, that will be encouraging that retention. And then for some, we have also heard that it's important to be intentional about inclusion and diversity. And this is from the outset, because the student who requires these services, if they are not given at the beginning, they may drop out. But if they were intentionally thought of, they could be successful. And so we also realize that even if admissions is the pre-entry and the transition into successful university life and eventually into the workplace, we have to start thinking also with the end in mind, their careers. So this personality test, careers. And then maybe some institutions have opportunities for course changes. So some of them who may have chosen a course because of pressure from parents, this is the opportunity to maybe educate the parents and then get the students to select a course that they really want to do so that it can increase their chances of success. So for this first phase, what we really like to emphasize is that strong transitions help with higher engagement in students. So transition from secondary school into the university life, and then it is good for better belonging. So let the students feel that they belong to the community from the outset. All these Success Week, these activities that we do help them to feel, they belong. And then it's also good for them to have clear expectations from the outset. That transition of university freedom, some of them play a lot during the first year and they end up really failing out. So it is good to have clear expectations. And then data capture. We have all pointed out that these silos, when you start capturing data and then communication with the different departments will be helpful. From the persistence stage, which is now where the students have made it into our university, we realize that well-being is key. They're already here. We are glad to have them, but we need to help them to succeed. So well-being, guidance, and counseling is important. And then, of course, the kind of residential life that we have in our universities, how is the community offering students ways of being engaged? So the extracurricular activities, co-curricular activities, but then, the staff engagement. So this is where the mentoring, the staff advising also helps to the students to retain. And then also financial literacy. So while coming in, financial aid may be key, but some of them come in and they're not literate with their finances. And you find that they get misled, misguided. Some of them, parents give them fees to use and then they get waylaid, So it is really important for students to start having this financial literacy. But also at this point, safeguarding is also important because that is also our responsibility to ensure that the students who are with us feel safe and they are guided. And then, of course, academic support partnerships, we have to make sure that we put those in place. We have to communicate with the different schools, with the academics, with student affairs, even with admissions, because we may find that there are key aspects that the students may need and they are not being given to the student affairs. So this communication is important. And the key aspect that we need to take from here is that, in this day and age, rising mental health complexities are important and we cannot ignore that. So our institutions have to also put structures in place to support the students and to ensure that we are not the ones who are inadvertently promoting stigma. Because, even in the way we talk, in the terminologies that we use, could be promoting stigma in the mental health area, and we find that students don't utilize the services that we have. And then it's also important for us to have strong cross-functional collaborations while students are with us. And then we also have to understand the importance of data, growing our data, and then making data-informed decisions. That also really pushes a lot for this support. And we have also had that many of our institutions are talking about, lack of capacity, financial challenges. But it's really important for us to know that our university should also go out and actively seek partnerships that can support us to achieve our aims. So for instance, partnerships, like Pan-Atlantic University, I think Ashesi, some institutions here at Kepler, we have partnerships, for example, with the MasterCard Foundation, which can help the university achieve its aims and really render the services and impact the community and help, students who would otherwise not have entered our kind of university. So let us, think out of the box. All our capacity does not have to come from our school fees that the students pay. Let us see what else we can do to be able to render these services. And finally, in the retention, sometimes we feel that, okay, the students have done well, they have reached their graduation, they're in their final year, let them just graduate and leave. But it's really important for us to know what type of students are leaving our universities. And it was really good that one institution shared that, these are the citizens of the country. So in all the things that we talk about, the corruption, the unfair treatment, the unconcerned employers, we are the ones who make them because we churn them out of our institutions. So this retention, we should be thinking, beyond just what we are doing in our universities. How ready are they career-wise? What internship pipelines are we giving them? When students are with us and we send them to organizations that don't promote your core values for them to go and intern there, we are inadvertently really ruining our own formation for the students. So let us know, where are we sending them for internships? And then what type of encouragement are we giving them for jobs? Some of them, they want to make as much money as possible as soon as they leave. But are we educating them in a way that, let them grow? Let them grow. There are certain qualities and skills that come with time. So what type of fast employment are we encouraging our students to go to? What type of alumni do we promote? Are we just looking for the alumni who are working in 500 Fortune companies and they're the ones that we promote as successful ambassadors of the university? Or do we also promote those who have gone back to their communities, have had social impact, even if they are not bringing in as much money? What are we promoting? Because that also gives the narrative for those who are still in school. And then, of course, it's good for us to be intentional about the employability outcomes of our students. So let us also keep in mind, although the student needs, while they are with us in school, let us think about the structures that we have put in place, as the retention team said, and then let us also look at these challenges. And as I close, there was one particular challenge that, we may seem minor, but we may want to go back and see, our way of communicating with students. Many of us, emails is the formal way of communicating. But if we start looking, we may find that many of us, our students, don't read emails. We say that they may not miss a TikTok video, they may not miss their streaks on Snapchat, but they will say that they didn't see the email, that maybe there was a class reschedule, or maybe there was a personal development session that was being shared. So how are we adopting our means of communicating so that the students are not left behind? And then also, how are we integrating advancement in technology, AI? How are we utilizing it to help our students succeed instead of just, trying to suppress? And so, really keeping in mind these 3 stages, admission, persistence, and retention, we will realize that it is important that they all feed into each other. And that is why we cannot act in silos, as has already been pointed out. Let us know that, our student success will be enhanced by our collaboration, from leadership, collaboration, and then keeping the students really at the center of all that we are offering. So with that, I hope I was able to synthesize at least all these 3 stages. And then anything that may need clarification, maybe we'll have it in the question and answer. Thank you, Selina.
Thank you so much, and that was so comprehensive. I actually dropped off at a point, but I came on just at a point where you were talking about communicating to students and how to what effective tools to use to reach them. So thank you for that insight and innovation. Now, we probably would take 2 questions. We have room just for about 2 questions. Then we bring this session to a close. So can we take 2 questions if anyone has?
I've just
The
seen
question in the
comments.
chat. Okay.
Okay, please go ahead.
No, I was just saying there's a question in the chat by Dr. Pamela Inchi on how do institutions know what support students actually need? How do institutions acquire these insights? And how does this insight then inform a collaborative strategy? And then how is implementation devolved, I guess, from that strategy? And maybe if Dr. Anchi is still here, she can share more on the question.
So the question is, how do institutions know what student needs?
Yes.
Is that a question?
Yes. And then
I think there
how
was
do
someone. Sorry.
And then how they acquire the insights, and then how they are able to implement.
Right.
Yes.
So there was a colleague from another institution that shared with us what they do. And he said that they would usually do a needs assessment at the admission stage, or once the student got in, they do a needs assessment and try to understand what needs students have. And based on that, they put interventions to address the specific needs of the students. I don't know if he's still on the line. He might want to share with us what they do.
Thank you. I'm Anthony Odek from St. Paul's University, Nairobi, Kenya. Yeah, I think, like I was saying, various departments can make just a small one-page questionnaire, which is similar to what one of the participants said, that they have a mental health tool to gauge the mental status of the students. The library also the same. What kind of knowledge is the student? What knowledge are they having, for example, in terms of IT? So that the following week they'll be trained on those kinds of IT-related things. And mental health problem also, they'll be referred to various offices for support. So various departments would do small tool that would be administered, and responses are addressed as fast as possible.
Would anyone want to add up to Anthony's submission?
I think I will just add a bit, Selina, in that it's also in PU we try to utilize the feedback from the current students. So we usually share service of the services that we give. We see what is, what's working, what's not working, what can we change, because at least, the students can give insights. You can, see trends, and they can guide you in the formulation of other services and interventions that you're giving. So not only the incoming, but also utilizing our current student body.
Right, okay. So thank you, everyone. We could go on this, and I think that we definitely should come back to this at some point in time. The essence of this is to really see how effective we can make our welfare structures so that students can navigate their way from admission to completion. And we hope that we can keep having these conversations so we learn from the innovations that are happening in different institutions. So thank you so much. And at this point, I would like to hand us over back to Acquaah to continue.
Thank you very much, Ms. Selina. Thank you, Ms. Anne, and many thanks to Mr. Jude as well. Thank you so much. This was a really good session. I think that we are all able to share insights, share learnings, get to know the overlaps that exist in our various institutions and what we could also be able to incorporate into our institutions as well. So thank you for your time. But before I let go of you in our discussions about student services and student affairs and what the student's life cycle looks like, we are taking the conversation over all the way to Togo for our West Africa Hub convening. And this convening theme is also centered around students. It's a students first, rethinking support systems, campus life, and academic success in African higher education institutions. So I look forward to seeing as many of you that can there. It would even be a much richer conversation, and we get to also have the personal interface. So we really look forward to seeing you all. I would also like to share a quick session survey. Now, this survey is not only for you to let us know about your experience with the session, but we also want to hear from you as student affairs professionals, what you are doing, what's going right, what isn't going well, as we continue to grow our knowledge and expertise in the student services area. So I have placed the link to the evaluation form in the chat. I would really appreciate it if you intentionally take some time to fill out the form. It will take you just about 2 to 3 minutes. But we also want to know what kinds of interventions are happening in your institution. Which of the phases do you think is critical or is most critical for the student life cycle or for the student's journey? So kindly fill out that form. We would truly appreciate it. As usual, we would share the session recording and then Miss Selina's slide deck with you once the editing is ready, so that you can always refer to it and also of course collaborate. So thank you all so much. You're welcome to fill the form even as you are on the call. That would be greatly appreciated. But we look forward to seeing you in Togo, and if not in Togo, we look forward to seeing you at our next community of practice session. Thank you so much once again, Ms. Anne and Ms. Selina. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Dr. Sabiti. Thank you, Dr. Inchi. Thank you all for your engagement, and thank you for a great session and even super breakout room. So I wish you the best for the rest of the day, and I wish you a great weekend coming up. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye. People that are still on the call, we can just take a quick photo. If we still have a few people here, maybe we can show our videos and take a quick picture. That would be great before we run out of the room. Pardon me.
All right.
Yes, so if I could see some smiles, we can take, awesome. It's so good to see all the faces. Thank you, Monsieur Harvey, for the prompt. All right, so I'll count us down. 3, 2, 1, let's smile. Awesome. So we'll take one more. It's great to see you, Dr. Anthony. Thank you for your input. So let's take one more photo. 3,
maybe I need to increase light for a second. For a second. Yeah, a second. I'll be back.
Hi, Abiola. It's good to see your face. All right, so let's take one more. 3,
Same here.
1, smile. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.